Okay, here we are once again. Zion, Yom Yom. This is an interesting one. Interesting. One of the reasons it's interesting is that I always try to find this one when I'm looking to tell people, in essence, what is Hasidus. And I never can find it, but here it is. And it's in this Hayom Yom. If you could ever contrast Hasidus with other chokhmas, other wisdoms, which in English they're translating here, other schools of thought. So he says as follows: there are three wisdoms, three schools of thought. One, A, the discipline of nullification of the material, by indicating the repulsive and abhorrent nature of all that is bodily and material. This is the school of Musar. And this is language that you will find in Tanya, but when you see what Hasidus is, that's why when we come back to the beginning of the Tanya, we have to be careful with the way we translate and understand things about the attitude of Hasidus toward the body. But if it's taken just at face value, in other words, where it says that the flesh is repugnant, as it says here, so that at face value, just if you take it straight, this is the school of Musar, denial, abnegation of the physical. B, the second Chokhmah, the second school of thought, is the opposite, recognition of the superiority of the inner form and the spirituality, the focus on the ruchnius in character traits and intellectual pursuit. Now, this also needs to be understood. We don't throw that away. We're very interested in refining ourselves. And of late, we've been bringing to the table here and there, as we've been speaking about mitzvahs, that a mitzvah without kavanah is like a body without a soul. So spirit's important. But the total focus on spirituality, inner form, and how one may come closer to attaining these, this is the school of Hakira, philosophy, seeing the form and focusing on the form, the inner nature of things underneath the physical, and focus on that. Now, Hasidus brings the two together. The discipline of attaining dominance of form over matter. Now, this is not abnegation of matter, but understand, and nor is it focused entirely on form, but its focus is on the relationship between form and matter, and the dominance of form over matter, but the relationship of the two. This school teaches the superior quality of the material when refined, the superior quality of the material when refined, the superiority of form when integrated with the material, and the superior quality of their fusion together to the point that one cannot detect where either of them begins or ends. This is the notion of the beginning is wedged in their end, and the end is wedged into the beginning. The continuity of form and matter, and the investment and interoperability of spirit and flesh. The one God created them both, that is the body and the spirit, the thing and the spirit and the flesh. The God created them both, and for one purpose, to reveal the light of holiness of his hidden power. Only both of them together will complete the perfection desired by the Creator. This is the school of the teachings of Hasidus. So I use this a lot when I can find it as a reference point, explaining people what's Hasidus is all about. Any questions on this or comments? Okay. Excuse me. Okay, back lessons in time. Continuing our discussion of the superiority of mitzvahs. A mitzvah is the ikka, and mitzvah is the great example, right, of what you said, the embodiment of godliness in the physical, and that's Masa hu ha'ikr. That masa ha-mitzvah is the ikr, the main thing, the root. The lessons in Tanya. Near the top of page 323. And in Lakuti Amorim, I can find it. Yeah, 2 lines up from the bottom of page 312. I decided that I'd like to dedicate these classes. It's a little never better late than never. To 2 things. One, first of all, to our chayolim, the ones who will be victorious in this war against literally in this war against light over darkness. And also give an opportunity at the beginning of each class for dedication for refuah shlema. I have a request for one, and I don't think the person is here, so I'll say this dedication for refuah shlema is to Yehudis Golda Bas Aliyah Chana. She should have a refuah shlema. And if anyone else would like to offer refuah shlema at this point, please do. Yes. Someone's hand is up. I can't see it. Oh, Rivka.
Oh, okay. I was just agreeing with you, but we'll say for Dvorach about Miriam Chava should have refuah shlema. And Sivi Chava Le'amasha and Baruch Ben Yamin Ben Rochablima. Always good. Should be
amen, good. Amen. So good. Thank you very much. Okay. Continuing our discussion here about mitzvahs. In the most, well, I don't know the most, but certainly one of the most deepest explanations of superiority of mitzvahs. Second line from the bottom of 312. V'oizais. In addition to what we said, what we said that using the esrog, for example, a few days ago, when you grab a mitzvah, like an esrog or any other mitzvah, you're grabbing not just the metzias, not just the expression of godliness, the existence, the thingliness. Metzias is here's a metzia, something you find, but it's something that's existing. Not just that you see, you're grabbing essence. Essence of God is invested in the Dvar Mitzvah on the principle that we just articulated here in Hayom Yom, that the beginning, meaning the mahus, the essence of God, is wedged in the end, which is the Dvar Mitzvah. And we also added yesterday that included in that construct is the halacha, learning the halachas of the mitzvahs as well. In addition to this, in truth, habirurim shebabiyah, the clarifications, rectifications that are occurring in the lower worlds, lower than Atzilas, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, and most rectification in the lowest of the low. And what are we rectifying? From the Rapach, the 288 sparks, which fell into the lower worlds and the lowest of the low. Again, the biggest sparks, back to my campfire, the biggest sparks will go farthest away from the flame. And so the heaviest sparks, the ones with the most light in them, fell down, 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 down into this physical world. And our job, as expressed in the Yom Yom, is to take that physical stuff, that matter, and bring out from it the auras of Toihu, the lights of Toihu, which are invested in them. And how do we do it? Al Yidei Torah u'mitzvahs, and in this context, he's speaking specifically about the Torah connected with learning mitzvahs, halachos of Torah. So we do this Al Yidei Torah u'mitzvahs. This is how we mavara the tzaitzais, through Torah and mitzvahs. B'machshava dibar amasa, the thought of the mitzvah, the speech of the mitzvah, and the deed of the mitzvah, and the deed is the ikr. And these things we just mentioned here, are higher in their source than the nefesh, ruach, and neshama of a person, right? Even though the person is the highest in the hierarchy, right? Adam, and then lower than that is animal, lower than that is plant, lower than that is earth. On the principle that nois techilas and b'soif in the earth, the things, the material things, are actually the things which contain the most expression of the deepest, which is the mahus, the essence of Hashem Himself. Kihein Misad. This is back to our utilization of the miluyim in the Shem Havaya. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, in that day, the day we were discussing that, I put a whole piece in this WhatsApp, if you want to reference it, which gives all the different miluyim. Miluyim are the fillings out of the name Havaya, which the fillings out means revealing the secrets, what's inherent in the Yud Kei Vav Kei that you don't see until you add certain other letters. Now, the Shem Sag is Samech Gimel, which is higher than, as we'll see in the next line, Shem Ma, which is 45. Shem Sag refers to the Gavuras of Toihu, and they reside, next second line, Shebepanimius Adam Kadma, in the innermost dimensions of the supernal man, meaning above all the Seder, we'll look at ourselves, man, human, top of which is head, bottom of which is foot. But we know what goes on in the brain is only a result of what's going on in deeper levels of consciousness than conscious thought. And we have levels and levels of, Freud called the next level the pre-conscious, and the deeper level, the unconscious, right? And that's a metaphor for the panemius, the most inner dimensions of the supernal man are indicated by the higher numerical value of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. Whereas man himself, Nefesh Ruach and Neshama Shekavar Nitkanu, the soul of a person is already a construct, a form, right, left, middle, etc., a form that you can, a diagram that you can see of the way things flow. So Adam, Nitkanu al Yidei Ma, he's fixed up, so to speak. He's put together through the Shem Ma. Ma is 45, which is, simplest terms, lower value, numerical value than Sag. So we, though we're first in creation, in the order of creation, but before the order of creation, deeper than the order of creation, are the powers which bring about that order, which are coming from the higher level, which is Shem Sag, which is the world of Toihu. And it's interesting also that Shem Ma, Mem He, is the gematria of the word Adam, Aleph Dalet Mem, Adam. So our job is rectification of Sag, rectification of the sparks that fell from Tohu down into the lowest levels. And the Shema, in the Kabbalistic metaphor, hu yotze mehametzach. The Shema comes out just from the forehead being just, the frontal piece of the head, whereas we said Shem Sag is much, much higher. Rivka. Yeah.
Are you reading the text? Can you tell me where you are?
I'm reading the text. I'm just on the third line on page Kuf Nun Zayin. Okay. Yeah. You see it?
No. Check.
Third line Kuf Nun Zayin. I'm just reading the text.
Okay, thank you.
You have it?
I'm checking, yeah.
I'll wait for it if you want. Because it's important to, if you're trying to follow it, and anyone who's trying to follow the text, I want you to be able to follow the text.
And what page in Lessons in Tanya? Doesn't seem to coincide.
Yeah, Lessons in Tanya, we started on page 323, the Oid Zois, the top of page, and we're down at the bottom now of page 323, the Shema.
Okay, so this is
okay, and now we're going over.
This is not Zion
the
Kislev.
Forehead.
Okay,
it is. It's interesting. It's noted differently. But if you look in the Likutei Moharan, in the left margin, which is what we've been following, that calendar, it is Zion.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, I get you. I got Stephen. No, you're confused. Okay, do you see where we are then?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So basically, let's sum up here since we got diverted. Deepest levels of godliness, not the deepest, but for the purpose of our discussion, deeper and less deep, or internal, and more chitzonius, external. More internal, and we've learned this, we've talked about this in the first line, Bereshis Bor Elakim. Beis, it's one of the expressions, the Bereshis. Beis Reshis, two heads. There's the inner dimension of the head, and there's the external dimension of the head. The internal dimension of the head is the world of Toihu. And Beis Reshis, another explanation, Beis Reshis, that the whole topic of the Chumash, which begins with Bereshis, is talking about the second head. Beis Reshis, the second head, which is the world of Tikkun. So the world of chaos, that's how they translate in English, in Toihu, is a deeper level of God consciousness, signified by the higher numerical value, Sag, 63, of the Miluyim of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the second level of consciousness, which is the level of Bria that we are familiar with, let there be light, let there be Rakia, etc., is a more external, which is signified by the forehead, and a lower, and it's rectified by, and it exists in the structure of Chochmah Bina Das, Hesed Word Tiferes, etc., which is the structure of a human, an Adam. And Adam is Gematria Ma, a lower level, lower number, 45, which is also Gematria Adam. All pointing to the fact that there is a deep, deep dimension, and the principle is the deeper its source, the lower its outcome. Or, Soif Ma'aseh, no, we'll stick with the one that we use in today's Hayom Yom, that the end, the lowest of the low, is wedged in the beginning, the deepest of the deep. And what's the lowest of the low? It's the physical stuff with which we do mitzvahs. Origin from the deepest of the deep. We're on the third line down, on page Kuf Nun Zayin. Mazesh Shekosov, and this in fact is what we've written in a couple of weeks, will come up with in Parshas Vayishlach, which speaks about Lifnei Moloch Melech LeBnei Yisrael, a state of existence before there ruled a Jewish king. And just derech agav, but it's interesting because it fits the story in the Chumash. These are the kings of Edom. The kings of Edom. Who was Edom? Who is the personification of Edom in the Chumash? That's a question I'm throwing out to you. Esav. Right, Esav. Right. So this is the whole power of what became the Roman Empire or the Roman exile. Their whole power structure comes from those kings which ruled, Malchei Edom, the kings of Edom, who ruled before a Jewish king. This refers to the powers of Toihu, who existed before the emergence of Tikkun, and Tikkun exists in the structure Chochmah Bina Das, which is the union of Adam. Okay? So these are the rulers of Tohu. Before they ruled a Jewish king. So, and this explains the high timer. For this reason, we understand why she'odam chai b'mezonos, not cake. Why a person rules and is nurtured b'mezonos of daimim, sameach, and chai, inanimate stuff, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, all the things that make up the substrate of carbon, the main life, the life force in all the cells. And we eat, and that comes from the daimim, comes from the inanimate. And the animate sprouts forth plants. And the plants are eaten by the chai, by the animal. So again, this is a reversal of the order. The higher thing has to come on to the lower thing. We have to eat stuff which is lower than us. Why is that? What does it make any sense? We're higher than that. Well, in Mitzvas, in the way things are rolled out, the way you see in front of your face, we're higher. In essence, we're lower. They have the sparks of Toyo because the sparks of the higher level fell into the lowest, into the earth, and then into the vegetation, and then the animal lifts it and lifts it and lifts it, and we purify it all. The metaphor for this is when we offer an animal on the Mizbeah, the animal has eaten The plant grew from the earth, the animal ate the plant, and the Adam, offers up the animal, our animal soul, the physical animal, because we have the power to rectify all that. But all of that rectification is releasing the power that's in all those things, which is deeper, higher than our source. And that's called Bir Netzotzim. Mevarim, that these sparks are rectified. Bema. Ma is Adam. Adam is the rectifier of the sparks which are sourced deeper than he, which are the sparks of Tohu. This is all about mitzvahs, guys. This is the inner of the inner of the inner of mitzvahs. The mevarim b'ma shebay, and all these sparks are rectified by the ma, which is the constitution of the Yud Ke Vav Ke in the Adam. V'chai b'hem, and as a result, since we're ingesting that life, that we live by that. The Fishehem Misag, and where does that life force come from that we live with when we eat something? It comes from Sag, the higher level of the forces of Tohu. Please ask some questions along the way if you're not getting this. This is as I said, the panemius of the panemius of the panemius of the supremacy of mitzvahs. In addition to this, if that wasn't enough, it says, when Moshe went up to the mountain, it said, my face you will not see. In other words, my innerness you will not see. Because the most panemius, the innerness of Hashem himself, is not able to come down below lamata. What's expressed, in other words, what we see, this is after the Simpson. He contracted the light so that we could have some visibility into what he is like. But we can't see him. We can't look at him. They'll much love the sun. It'll burn your eyes out. So we only see the manifestations of him, which we're hearing called the chitzonius, the externality of Hashem, and also called bechinas acharayim, the backside, the ending of this pasuk. You will never, Moshe Rabbeinu, you will never see my face. I'm only going to show you my backside. So that's a metaphor for everything we are involved in down here below is an expression of godliness, but only the backside of godliness. The face we don't see yet. Shehi naivles hochma, which is called the dregs, or really naivles is an agricultural term, refers to the dried fruit that falls off the tree. The tree is source of life, right? And the fruit has life in it. And when it dries, it falls off, right? So that's a metaphor for what's coming. What we see down here below is a, quote, dried fruit relative to the root and source from whence, the rich root and source from which it comes. And Torah is called Noidlis Chochmah. It's the drying up part. It's just the leftover. I mean, that's the metaphor of the real rich stuff, which is the internality of God himself. So she Noivlis Chochmah. What we get is just the Noivlis Chochmah of Chochmah Eloh, of God's supernal wisdom. But in addition to that, so this is talking about Torah, right? Gadol Torah. Great is Torah, they concluded. But why is Torah great? Maybe l'demasa, because it brings to deed. But Torah is great. Torah is our connection to God. But it's only our connection to God. It's not God himself. As we've been saying, more toward essence of God himself is invested in the mitzvahs more than the Torah. In addition, if one who speaks words of the supernal Chachma, that doesn't bring forth any birth. In other words, I'm talking, but the talking that I'm doing doesn't do anything. The original, there's a lot behind the talk that I'm talking here, and that talk originates in something very small, which we use here, the metaphor of the seminal drop. It's the tipa. The life of my speech is coming from something much deeper, from a tipa, from a drop, which is drawn down from the vessels of Chochmah Allah. Yesh boy koyach hamoilid, and it has in it the power to give birth. My words themselves don't have power to give birth. My words are something which have already been birthed from something much deeper than that, from a seminal point which has the power to give birth. That seminal point is the origin of bringing things into being, something from nothing. The words, or even here, the emotions that I feel, the Avos Hashem, the Yiras Hashem, that I cultivate in my heart and that we cultivate in our heart. We know that in the structure of things, midos are more external to seichel, right? Seichel is midos are born machshava shalat ala lev, and the principle of Tanya, the thought drives the speech, and then seichel is only an outcome of something much deeper than that, all the way back to the seminal drop. That's where the power of birth comes from. That's what's mahava yesh me'ayin. And you should know that even on the one hand, we're denigrating a little bit the outcome versus the point, the original powerhouse that gives birth. In that outcome, in the results, in my dibur, are invested, Chochmah Elah is included in it. That time, and the reason is because the words or the emotions or the feelings that I'm having are coming from something much deeper, and they carry with it that something which is much deeper, which is the atzmas of Chochmah Elah. Now, if we just look at the speech and the thought, I'm speaking and I'm thinking a little bit before I speak. And even if we're talking about, a deep intellect, this deep intellect, this profound thought, no matter how profound, is just a ha'ora, a ray, which is coming out from the mahus, the essence of seichel, shebenefesh, the atzmusa, in the essence of the seichel, of the soul. This is the metaphor we're using, right? That from the seminal point which looks like nothing, is born everything, and the everything is only an expression of that seminal drop. That's point number one. And number two, it carries inside of it, the expressions carry inside of it that driving force, which is the which is the seminal drop. Va'ora zu, and this aura which comes in my speech, my feelings, my speech, even my thoughts, right? My Shabbat David, my thought is only a garment of the soul. And this aura, these rays, radiations, speaking about seichel and what comes from it. So the things which come out of it are only a garment for the essence of the seichel. The haseichel, and going further, as I was a little bit earlier, and the seichel, is only a garment for the essence, for the essence of the soul. Masha'enkein hatipa, on the other hand, the drop itself, the seminal drop, nimsha bo gam mimahus hanefesh, that draws with it in an open way, because open meaning it's what has the power to give birth. So it's drawing with it from the mahus of the nefesh, from the essence of the soul, v'atzmus, in its very essence, hamlubeshes b'moichin, which is coming down and clothed in the brain, v'lochen melida b'doima lo mamish, and therefore it gives birth to something which is similar to it, meaning that the outcome is driven by the quality of what's invested in it. V'zehu ha'hefresh bein avodas hamalachim, and this is the difference between the service of the angels, hayetzim and the shikim. They come from only the level which is described metaphorically as kissing. This is the advantage. This is the difference between the malachim, the neshamas, and versus souls, hayetzim and hakelim, who come from the intimate unity of the lights and the vessels, intimacy. But, and then they come down. Now the kelim of Atzilus become the soul of the lower worlds. And Hilchach, and therefore, the intellectual love and fear, the love and fear as it's included, the love and awe, whatever your emotions are, before they become born, and you see them clearly as emotions, they're contained in and derivative from the intellectual powers, that's the thoughts that you're thinking, and kamalachim. So these intellectual love and fear, meaning the love and fear that exists as it exists in seichel before it's born as something separate and distinct, and you can feel it in your heart. These are like the malachim, who are born from neshikim, only from neshikim, only from a kiss. Which is an external relationship relative to the relationship of intimacy. So they come from what's called the chitzonius of Chabad, the externality of Chochmah, Bina, and Das, Bibiyah in the lower worlds. The Hatam, and the reason is, Nishum de Panemius Chabad, is because the innermost dimensions of Chabad, Umahusav Musto Shel Or Panimi, and the essence of the innermost light of Hashem, and Yochalis Galus can only be revealed Al Yidei Ha'oros HaKelim Dafka, only through the ray. Right here's again the ray, the ray which is just an effusion from and a derivative of the supernal intense light which you can't see directly. All of that is only coming from the Kelim Hayordim Lamata, which come down below. Ketipisa Odom, like the seminal drop descends. Now the point is, it's carrying with it the essence. It's carrying with it that ability to mahave, to bring things into being. That's the miracle of creating a child, the miracle of creating another human being. Because in that seminal drop and its union with the egg, etc., is invested the highest, the godly life force. The tipasa odom, like the drop of a person, which comes out from, it's revealed from his brain, but its origin is much deeper. As is written, you can only see my backside, and my face you will not see. And that brings up, if the margin in the interim are there are cheses tomorrow. So in sum, the deeper the source, the lower its manifestation. And the mitzvahs are the things that are done with the lowest manifestation of Hashem, which is devorim gashmim, physical things. And those physical things contain in it, the beginning, much, much deeper than any manifestation, including the manifestations of godliness in the higher worlds. Or back to our Yom Yom, the essence is in the physical. The ha'oras, the rays, are in the spiritual. And the mitzvahs are done in the physical. All right.
Did you say that that's why we, let's say, we need the lower forms like for sustenance to eat all those things, because they have even higher
Yes, exactly. The lower the manifestation, the higher its source, and therefore all the essential nutrients are those are lower. They're just microbes, not microbes. I'm looking for. They're elements, right? And yet, and they get put together in something that we can take. We can't eat nitrogen, and we can't eat the complex carbohydrates directly. We can't eat chemicals, so they get put in the food, and that's the way they release their utmost, highest supernal energies.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
Aviva. Yes.
Yeah, this part of this discussion reminds me of the Rashi that we read recently about how Yaakov was really the firstborn.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly.
Just wanted to say.
It's the same. It's the same metaphor, right? Right. First in, last out.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I hope you all follow it, because that's our story. Remember, the story that we're telling in the Chumash is the story of Mevarim Netzutzim, right? It's the story of the power of the Jewish king over the kings of Tohu, right? Even though the Jewish king comes much later. and the powers of Tohu are much precedent, right? And the powers of Tohu are precedent, therefore they fall down into the lowest, into Edom. This is one of the secrets of why Yitzhak loved Esau. You know, and it's manifest very openly in the story of Yaakov and Yaakov and Esau in this week's Parsha and in Parshas Vayishlach, in many Maimorim and Sichos of the Rebbe, that Yaakov went out to meet him. He wanted to bring the Geula. He wanted to Mavav. He thought the time was now for the revelation of the power of the Ores of Toihu in Kelim of Tikkun. It wasn't the time, apparently. But that's the story of the confrontation and the battle between Yaakov and Esau. The powers of Tikkun versus the powers of Toihu, and the rectification of the powers of Toihu by the powers of Tikkun. That's the whole story. Someone has a hand up. Rivka. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I think what we're learning is just reminds us of the chesed that Hashem did in creating the world, and the chesed of histalshelus, of all these concealments and hiding himself from us in a way that we can still connect and use his powers.
Absolutely.
And these midot and this energy, whatever you want to call it, that we can connect with godliness in a way that is possible. It wouldn't be possible without this.
Absolutely,
this
it wouldn't be.
tremendous...
We wouldn't have any relationship with him. It would be just too much. It's all in one pasuk. One pasuk. Olam chesed yibana. The world is built with kindness, and olam, we've talked about this many times, is the same olam as concealment. Elam. The concealment is a kindness, because only by concealing himself does he make it possible for us to... We can't relate to himself as he is. Ein Sof, we're Sof. But we have a power within us, and he's made that. That's the big kindness. He's given us the ability to relate to him through his concealment, and through us being able to open up that concealment, which is the notion of Mavar Netzoisos.
Through the physical work, through using...
And only through the physical work. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. So we'll get to work.
Thank you.
And after 8 here, and who knows what in Israel, but let's get to work, and let's utilize, I should say, the opportunities that we have every moment to Megala, to reveal the lights of Toihu in the Kelim of Tikkun.
Amen.
A good day.
Yom Tov, B'sar Tovot.
Amen.